The last tutorial laid the groundwork for basic VNS scene construction. Let's build on those basics and animate components. Create a new project. Name it Flyby. We'll use the island project as a starting point, so clone an existing project. Browse Files. Go to the Island Project folder and open the Island project. When you create and save, VNS will create a copy of the Island project called Flyby in a new Flyby folder. The terrain elevation file, however, is still in the original Island folder. We already have the terrain data we need, so no, we aren't going to import data now. Activate the Island planimetric view and return the camera to its default view position. We'll be working with the animation toolbar, so let's take a closer look at it. First of all, turn on the keyframe group toggle, which is the first icon here at the left end. This keys all parameters in a group when one is keyed. This will make more sense when we create the first keyframe. Keyframes are just frames where you set the parameters. VNS does the rest and creates the frames in between. Let's start by animating the main camera. Go to the Render Task Mode, expand the cameras, and open the Main Camera Editor. Go to the Position Orientation page, and you'll see we have two groups here, Position and Orientation. Select Animation Operations to the right of the Latitude field, and Create Key. The Input Request window will ask for the keyframe time and default to the current frame. This is the beginning of the camera path, so we're at 0 and enter to use that. The Animation Operations icon turns green for all three members of the camera position group because we're in keyframe group mode. In the scene at a glance, keyframe parameters are indicated by a red key. If you expand the main component, you'll see that the latitude, longitude, and elevation all have red keys. Now we're going to keyframe a new camera position. The main camera is still active, so Control-click a new location, the planimetric view, northeast of the island, somewhere about there. The Value Request window opens up with the current elevation. Clear that, and OK. When no elevation is entered in that field, the camera is placed at the current elevation, which means the camera at the beginning of our animation and right now is at the same elevation. This time, add a key with the Add Keyframe button here on the animation toolbar. Enter 20 seconds. And we now have, once we have created a second keyframe, the Go and Next Keyframe buttons here on the animation toolbar become available. So we can jump back and forth between keyframes. It doesn't make much difference now because we've only got two keyframes, but when you have several of them, it allows you to jump to the next keyframe, which is very helpful when you want to change a particular keyframe. At the far right end of the animation toolbar, in the frame slider, is a Play Animation button. If you click that once, it starts playing the animation. VNS has taken the 0 and 20-second camera position keyframes and filled in the frames in between. If you click that Play Animation button again, it stops. The small arrow next to it only plays as long as it's depressed. So you click and hold it down, stops. Click, hold down, stop. You can also drag the frame slider, which is called scrubbing. You can scrub back and forth through here. have all sorts of fun zipping along. Another thing you can do is use the right and left arrow keys on your keyboard. This is convenient if you just want to move frame by frame. So right arrow, frame by frame, click, press, 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 or you hold it down and it plays, or left arrow key once at a time, frame by frame, or hold it down and it moves back. When you're done playing, go ahead and jump to the beginning. Let's change the velocity of the camera between the keyframes using the timeline editor. One way to open it is to make the camera latitude active in the scene at a glance. So click on the camera latitude in the scene at a glance. You'll see that in the active item window it says main camera latitude. Down here in the animation toolbar, open timeline for active parameter. This is the timeline for just the camera latitude. The timeline is a graph with the variable on the vertical axis, in this case latitude, and time on the horizontal axis. Triangles represent keyframes, and the active one is highlighted in yellow. The latitude timeline represents a change in north-south position with time. The absolute value of the slope is the north-south velocity. The graph is a straight line, which means we have a constant velocity and the camera starts and ends at full speed. We're going to change the velocity to make the camera start slowly from rest, accelerate, then decelerate to a gentle stop at the end. We could go to the camera page, camera editor, position orientation, show some controls here with the advanced features, and use velocity distribution, in which case we could ease in and ease out, which is a way of starting gently from rest and slowly going to a rest at the end. But you can't preview that in real-time views. And it's really helpful when you are creating an animation to be able to preview what you're doing in real-time views rather than having to render off a sequence to see what's going on. So rather than do that, we'll go ahead and make the changes in the timeline. The first key is yellow, so it's active. Change the tension to 1. You can use these little arrow widgets to go up slowly, or just go ahead and 1. Select the last keyframe. Change it to 1 in attention. This now gives us a latitude velocity that starts at 0 with no slope, increases to a maximum at 10 seconds, then slows again to 0 at the end, and makes for a nice overall animation. Keep the changes, and that sets the latitude timeline settings. Now you may notice, depending on your video card, you may have some interesting little artifacts here when you close out Windows on top of your OpenGL. The V key refreshes your views. So if you select a view, go ahead and hit V key. It refreshes things so your real-time views will update with wherever you are. That takes care of the latitude half of the camera position. We still have the longitude, so let's go ahead and access its timeline from the most convenient place, which is the camera editor. Here we have the longitude. Select the animation operations and view timeline. Repeat the process and change the tension to 1 at each of the keyframes. Keep the changes. Go back to the beginning of the animation and play it. You'll notice we start out gently, then speed up. We're going faster. We've hit our peak speed about now, and we're starting to slow down again. So as we near the end of the animation, we're slowing down until we stop.